Hi guys, I've been looking out all over the internet, YouTube and such, on exactly how the bypass valve is routed or set up on the Saleen Mustang. I'm sure this applies to all supercharged cars. Of course, if you are running a blow-off valve, that's completely different. But the objective is to show you guys my setup. So this here, just for orientation, I'm on the driver's side, and this right here is boost. This is a boost line. This comes from underneath of the blower. So this produces boost, goes into my fuel sensor, and when I took it to the dyno, the gentleman actually found an issue with the plumbing here. Originally, the previous owner had this set up to vacuum. So there was actually a vacuum line going into the fuel sensor, which caused a bit of a problem under boost because it didn't sense additional pressure going into the cylinders. And obviously, without that information, the ECU doesn't know to inject more fuel to adjust for the air to fuel ratio. So I was running very, very lean. So he fixed that, thank goodness. Teed off of that and then set up a boost vacuum line to the top of the blow-off valve port. And then, as you can tell, this right here is the bottom part. I don't have that connected. And I will show you what happens when it is connected. I have a vacuum line here that runs all the way to this vacuum fittings on the back of the intake manifold. So my original setup was that this was connected here and it was plugged, it was cut, it was a different line, but it was essentially cut, and it had a bolt there plugging this line up. So what I was getting, the connection was also not made, so this was completely pulled, disconnected. As you can tell, it's pretty rusted here. Probably hasn't been actuated for quite some time. And so I'm assuming that he plugged this to maybe prevent any moisture or anything else from crawling in there, or maybe for the purpose of preserving the valve. I'm not 100% sure. In any case, when the car is turned off, you can see that the stop is right on top of part of the manifold area, and there we go. So in this position, the valve is completely closed. So that means that any forced induction air produced by the supercharger will be going directly into the intake manifold and the cylinders. As soon as I turn on the car, vacuum from the boosted area, and yes, believe it or not, when the car is idling, and I'll show you this in a second, it crosses vacuum. So there's actually vacuum here until you actuate the throttle far enough where it produces boost. So this line right here does both jobs for this mechanism. So when it's idling, it is on the vacuum, which it sucks up the diaphragm. It creates negative pressure on top, and then in turn causing this mechanism to lift this way. And when it's like this, the valve is open, and so basically is allowing unboosted air to bypass the supercharger and recirculate back in through the intake manifold. So basically, it's a pretty efficient way to keep boosted air on demand, and as well as keeping the supercharger cooler, or so I've read. But I don't have any actual experience or data to back this up. But the purpose is to show you the routing of the vacuum lines as well as the operation of the bypass valve. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and start the car. The vacuum line that's connected to the intake manifold vacuum fittings is going to be wide open. I want you guys to hear and see that. At the same time, I'm going to leave the boosted vacuum line connected, and then I'm going to go ahead and play with this once I have the car in idle, so that you can see how the bypass valve operates. So with the car completely idle, you can tell that the bypass valve is all the way to the top. And so you can hear that hissing sound. That is vacuum air from the line that I have open. So I can plug that, you can hear that. So what happens when I connect it to the bottom line? So this is what's going to happen here. So now you're going to have vacuum air fighting each other, essentially closing the valve completely, which at idle, we don't want that. At idle, we want the valve to be completely open so that air can recirculate from the supercharger back into the intake manifold and back and forth like in that pattern. Now, the boosted line, I'm going to pull that, and you can hear that. That's vacuum. But it turns into boost as soon as I hit the throttle. Let's see if I can show you guys that. So it's difficult to hear, but it turns into boost. So I'm going to go ahead and connect it and show you what happens to the valve. So now I'm going to connect it, and the bypass valve opens again. So now I'm going to go ahead and rev the engine up where it creates boost from that boost line. Show you what happens. So as you can tell on the boost, the valve closes and allows all of the air to go into the intake manifold, obviously for power. So what could happen if you have this system set up incorrectly, you may run into lag and boost. For example, when I had the vacuum line that comes from the intake manifold connected here like so, and the boosted / vacuum line connected to the top, and I went wide open throttle, I could hear the supercharger wind up, but then I wouldn't see any boost on the gauge until many RPMs later. Then it would show up to maybe 5 pounds of boost. Once I took this off, then the boost was immediate. So be careful with your bypass valve setup. It might lead you to believe that maybe the supercharger is done, and maybe there's some issues internally with it, when in fact it could be very well the bypass valve. So just kind of mess with it, and let me know what you think, and I sure hope this helps you guys out.